In 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 20 to 21, Peter connected the resurrection of Christ to the ark. He said that 8 souls were brought safely through by water, which figure also now saves you, baptism, through the resurrection of Jesus Christ. The figure of baptism also saves us through resurrection. I say once again that the ark resting upon the mountain top signified Christ's resurrection out from the dead waters. The month and day of both were exactly the same, a shadow of the church, resurrected with Christ. What do we find after the resurrection? We see a new living. Noah and the 7 other people had a new living. I would also like to call your attention to the fact that the number of people in the ark was 8. The number 8 means resurrection. A week has 7 days, and the beginning of a new week is the 8th day. Christ was resurrected on the first day of the week, that is, on the 8th day. So the number 8 signifies resurrection. In this new living, the people were in resurrection. Whatever they did was in resurrection. Not many Christians realize the true significance of the type in this portion of the word. We should understand this portion of the word in the way of typology. All Christians agree that the ark was a type of Christ, and 1 Peter chapter 3 verse 20 to 21 tells us clearly that the passing through the flood was a prefigure of baptism. Based upon these 2 facts, we must realize that everything related to Noah and to the 7 people that were with him after the flood must also be a part of the complete type, forming a full picture of the type. We should not stop with saying that the passing through the flood was a type of baptism, and that the ark resting on the mountain was a type of Christ's resurrection. What about the life of the 8 persons after the flood? In other words, what about the living of the people after the resurrection? What does the living of those 8 people after the flood signify? It signifies the church life. The living of the resurrected people after the resurrection was the church life. This is absolutely logical. The 8 persons in the ark signify us, the New Testament believers. I would like to say a word to the young people. When I was a young Christian, I exercised my mentality very much about the statements in the Bible that say that we are in Christ. I tried to figure out how we could be in Christ. I could neither see the reality of this nor understand its significance. One day, as I was considering what Noah's ark passed through, the Lord showed me that the 8 persons in the ark were a picture, showing us how it is that we are in Christ. Those 8 persons were in the ark when the ark passed through the flood. Thus, they also passed through the flood in the ark, but they themselves did not touch the flood. It was the ark that withstood the flood waters. This answers the questions of how Christ's crucifixion can be ours and how we were crucified in Christ. When the ark came out of the flood, the 8 people in it also came out. When the ark rested upon the mountain top, the 8 persons were resurrected and rested on the mountain top in the ark. Ephesians chapter 2 verse 6 says that we were raised up together with Christ. Before we were born, we were resurrected. When Christ was resurrected out from the dead waters, we were in him. Therefore, in the church, we are resurrected people. If we look at the picture of the type, we shall see that the church is another community. It is not the old society. The old community and society have been buried. When we were baptized, we buried the old community and society. The flood came and buried Noah's old society, and only 8 persons were resurrected. Now, the living of those 8 persons on the new line must be a type of the church life. We are the church people, and the church people are resurrected people. We are another community, another society. The church life is a new community. After the flood, the 8 persons saved through the ark began to have a new living. Before the flood, they saw many evil and ungodly things, but they were saved, separated, resurrected, and ushered into a new living. That new living was a type of the church life. In addition to all the other seeds sown in the book of Genesis, the seed of the church life is also sown there. Every part of the living of the 8 people was a prefigure of a part of the church life. The fleshly ones, signified by the raven, going back to the world judged by God. Before the 8 people began their new living on the new earth, Noah conducted some tests. He sent forth a raven and a dove. The raven represents the fleshly people. If you read Leviticus 11 carefully, you'll find that the raven is an unclean bird. All of the unclean birds are unclean because they eat the dead things, the carcasses. In other words, they eat death. They are unclean because they feed on death. Death is filthy in the eyes of God. According to the Old Testament, once a person contacted death, he immediately became unclean. While the unclean birds ate death, the clean birds ate grain, cereal. In every grain there is life. The clean birds are clean because they feed on life. In the eyes of God, nothing is as clean as life, and nothing is as unclean as death. Do you eat death or life? Do you eat the carcass or the seed? Whoever eats carcasses is a raven, and whoever eats seeds is a dove.